Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm Billy Laufer. You'll hear some more on Laufer's Law, and I have two very special speakers today. One is Jane Ellen Doran, who's been my partner for many, many, many years, a very seasoned attorney. She's going to talk to you about prenuptial agreements. And after Jane Ellen will be Mario Delmonaco, another very seasoned matrimonial lawyer, and he's going to talk to you about case information statements, a very integral part of every divorce case.
Welcome. My name is Jane Ellen Doran. I am a partner here at Laufer, Dalena, Jensen, and Doran. I've been practicing law for a long time, in excess of 40 years. And my practice is devoted exclusively to family law matters. I've been asked today, however, to focus a little talk in just very general terms on prenuptial agreements, what they are, what they can do, and what they cannot do. In its simplest form, a prenuptial agreement is a contract between a couple who are planning to be legally married or to enter into a legally and binding domestic partnership of some kind. It does not apply to folks who want to enter into a commitment ceremony of some kind on the beach or in the backyard. We're talking about a legally binding marital relationship. The focus of a prenuptial agreement can be very broad, and it can also be very narrow. Our job here at our firm is to try to craft an agreement that is unique to the couple who have asked us to represent them. And we represent one person and only one person. The other person should have legal counsel, although in New Jersey that is not legally necessary. A person can enter into a prenuptial agreement without counsel. However, they must waive the right to have an attorney. We don't do that. We really prefer that both parties have independent counsel and independent guidance. This is a profound moment in a couple's life, not only emotionally and entering into this happy union that they've been looking forward to and planning for some time, but it is also a profound financial moment. And it is a good idea to pause and think about the financial consequences of a marriage. And technically, I think that's what a prenuptial agreement is best at. Firstly, to enter into a prenuptial agreement, you have to expect that there will be full financial transparency. That takes the form in New Jersey of schedules attached to the actual final contract, Schedule A, Schedule B, which has a statement of each party's net worth. By that I mean any real estate, bank accounts, IRAs, pension plans, retirement accounts, assets of all kinds, life insurance, what have you. The more transparency, the better. We want people entering into this with their eyes wide open, knowing what the financial circumstances of their spouse should be or will be. You can expect some attorneys would like actual financial statements, business records, but all of that isn't necessary. We're not talking about the same kind of financial disclosure that accompanies a divorce. It's more limited than that. So be prepared to have those details available for your lawyer. The more work you can do, the more legwork you can do, you'll save yourself time, which translates into money. And also be prepared that if you are negotiating terms of a prenup and you're not the economically advantaged spouse, that you're entitled to that information. And you should ask for it. You should be entering into this in a knowing way, in an intelligent way. Prenuptial agreements can address what happens in the divorce, in the unfortunate event of divorce. So we can deal with spousal support. We can address how long spousal support will be. We can address the amount of spousal support. We can agree on terms that are different than spousal support. For example, lump sum payments. You can also decide ahead of being married what assets will be protected and what assets will be shared. You can decide in your prenuptial agreement how you're going to spend your income, well, whether it will be joint, whether some of it will be joint, whether all of it will be joint. And it is designed really to protect your loved ones, including your spouse. That may sound counterintuitive. Oftentimes people enter into these agreements and they think, oh, you're planning a divorce. You're already planning a divorce and we haven't walked down the aisle yet. Not really. I mean, what you should be thinking of this as a prudent, thoughtful way of ensuring that in the unlikely event your marriage ends in divorce, you will have a plan. It is not any different than having a healthcare proxy, a power of attorney, a last will and testament. It is designed to plan for the future and including the possibility, however unlikely it may seem, at the moment one is marrying, for a possible separation and divorce. It can also deal with what happens if a spouse dies. So you may not be aware of this, but when you marry, a whole set of laws and regulations come into play about what happens in the event of death. You can decide that ahead of time. You can decide to protect children from a prior relationship. You can decide to protect parents, siblings. It doesn't necessarily have to go to one's surviving spouse. So you can plan for those eventualities that in the absence of an agreement, the law is just going to kick in and there's a lot of uncertainty. So there's nothing worse than your loved ones scrambling upon a death about, who's getting what do we do with the house, how long do I get to stay here? So all of those uncertainties can be addressed. Maybe not everything, but a lot of it. We don't do a cookie cutter agreement. There are agreements like that on the internet that you can pull out, but we think our job here is really to structure an agreement that meets the unique needs of our client, and they are very different. Final thoughts about a prenup is that you should be hiring a lawyer and entering into this agreement long before you're meeting with the baker to do a taste testing of the cake, saying yes to the dress. All those exciting, wonderful things that go along with being married should really come after, ideally, after you have a prenup signed, sealed, and delivered. Most lawyers want to be doing these months in advance, signing a document months in advance. Are they enforceable if it's not done months in advance? Yes, but it's a lot better to have all of the, if you will, legalities out of the way before we drive forward and make plans for an actual wedding. And one hopes that that's all behind you. You put the agreement in a drawer and you never need it. But if you do, you have an agreement that the two of you negotiated, you felt comfortable with, and signed in a moment in time when you were relaxed and you understood all of its terms and you didn't feel rushed in any way to enter into an agreement. Ask questions of your lawyer. Be prepared to answer questions when you enter into an agreement. And don't be afraid of it. It's not something that you should fear or be anxious about. You have a voice in what the final agreement will look like. And the sooner you start that process and you sit down, as you will when you are married, as husband and wives, and I am married, I have been married for a long time, as long as I've been practicing law, you have to be able to talk to your spouse about money, about plans for the future. So it's wise to start sooner rather than later.
Hello, My name is Mario Delmonaco, and I'm an attorney here at Laufer, Dalena, Jensen, and Doran. I've been a practicing attorney for approximately 20 years now, exclusively practicing in matrimonial divorce litigation matters. I've been with the Laufer firm for 20 years, and again, I practice strictly in matrimonial. We also do various other engage in various other areas of the law that are related to family matters, such as domestic violence, which is another area of the law in which I practice in as well. However, for today, I would like to address the importance of what we call case information statements. And a case information statement is a document that has to be filed with every complaint that gets filed in whether it's Morris County, Bergen County, Sussex County, any county in which you practice in New Jersey. Once a complaint for divorce is filed, it is an obligation of the parties to file what's called a case information statement. And the document that I have in front of me is in fact a case information statement that we prepare for the benefit of the clients. And this case information statement at some point will get filed with the court. However, the reason I've decided to discuss case information statements is because I believe that case information statements are probably one of the most important documents that get filed in every divorce proceeding. And the reason why I say that is because the case information statement, for the most part, lays down the groundwork as to what the issues are in your case. Okay? Not only does it set forth the issues in your case, but it also helps the attorneys get an idea as to what issues will arise in your case. Okay? And when I do a case information statement on behalf of a client, I always find it important for the clients to meet with me in person and to go over every single page of the case information statement so they have a full understanding as to what's being asked of them in the case information statement and why the information provided is so important and valuable to their divorce proceedings. Every case information statement, particularly this one that I have in front of me, they're usually template case information statement. They're a total of about 11 pages. Okay, the first page is usually just a captioning. Every case that gets filed in the courts will have a captioning. Whoever is the plaintiff will be first, the defendant is listed second, then it has a docket number. Every case that gets filed in the court is given a docket number. In matrimonial court, it starts with an FM, and then followed by a number in which county you reside in. So here in Morris County, our docket is FM, and it starts with FM 14. And then it's given a date, the number of cases that have been filed in the county, and then the last number is usually the year in which the case information as well as the complaint has been filed. So that's the first page of a case information statement. As you turn towards the second page of the case information statement, it's called Part A, Case Information Statement, and this sets forth the dates as to when the statement has been prepared. It sets forth the date as to whether or not any other prior statements have been prepared in your matter, gives the date of your birth, the birth date of the other party, the date of your marriage, which is obviously important in the case when it comes down to deciding or discussing alimony, if there is alimony in your case. It also sets forth the date as to separation. In some cases, people don't always continuously reside together during the course of their divorce proceedings and are sometimes separated, which is also an important facet of the case information statement. It's good to know whether or not how long these parties have been living together, if they're not living together, where they're living, and whether or not any kind of support has been paid to the spouse or one of the spouses during this period of separation. It also sets forth the date of the complaint. To the right of that, it asks for issues that are in dispute. Again, issues in dispute could be the cause of action, custody issues, parenting time issues, alimony, child support, equitable distribution, counsel fees, anticipated college expenses. So as I said earlier on when I first started, the case information statement will set forth what issues could possibly be in dispute. It would also help the attorney understand what the opposing party could possibly allege during the course of your divorce proceedings. Going further down onto page 2, it asks for the parties' present addresses, the names of your children, whether or not there are children from prior relationships. It asks for information related to either party's employment, where they're employed, whether or not insurance is available through those forms of employment, etc. Going on to page 3, and this is a very important part of it. For family matters, the major issues in most family matters are alimony and child support. In order to address alimony and child support, we need to know what the parties' respective incomes are. So when we get to page 3 of the case information statement, you will see that it asks for income information. And there's a couple boxes. The first box asks for the preparer's income for the last calendar year. So if we're in 2025, we will ask for the calendar year's income for 2024. And this is an important part where I feel it's important for the attorneys to really engage in this matter, because these numbers are extremely important and they need to be provided properly and accurately. Okay? Sometimes if you don't do it accurately, other attorneys will hang their hat on these case information statements and sometimes file applications in the court, which sometimes can make the opposing party look bad or seem as though the opposing party is making more money than what they're really making. That's why when I do the case information statements, I make sure that the clients are in my office with their financial statements and that we go over this together and that we have all the income information that is accurate and necessary for preparing the case information statement. On the second box of it is your present earned income and expenses. This sets forth what your present income is, whether you get paid bi-weekly, you get paid monthly, or you get paid weekly. It also sets forth what taxes come out of your weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly paychecks, and it gives you a net average weekly income. Turning to page 4, with most people who are employed or W-2 employees or self-employed, we have federal income taxes that are taken out of your pay. You have federal income taxes, New Jersey income taxes, other state income taxes, Medicare, other estimated tax payments in excess of withholdings. The reason for this is to see, despite you having a gross income of X amount of dollars, the case information statement takes out all those deductions and breaks down your monthly income into a net number. So we know exactly how much you have on a net basis. The other party will be doing the same thing as well. They are also obligated to prepare a case information statement as well, and they will also fill out this relevant information and will also provide what their net income is. Turning to page 5 of the case information statement, it basically asks, how often are you paid? Again, it sets forth what your annual salary is. Basically, when they ask you this stuff, it basically helps to ensure that what you cited or certified to on the prior pages is accurate. So it's almost like I look at this as like a double, a review of your prior works. But it also asks for whether or not you received any bonuses, any raises, whether or not you receive any income from any other sources of employment. It's very self-explanatory, page 5. I'm not going to go through every single paragraph in page 5, but it is very self-explanatory. And again, I look at this as like a review of what you've certified to before, a checks and balances to make sure that what you put previously is accurate. Page 6, here, very, very important, particularly as it relates to alimony. Because alimony, in order to determine alimony is based upon lifestyle, one's lifestyle analysis. In here, you'll see that they have Schedule A expenses. Schedule A expenses are your household expenses. Whether you rent or whether you own a home, it asks for certain expenses, monthly expenses, such as your mortgage, how much you pay per month on your mortgage, how much you pay per month towards real estate taxes, how much you pay for homeowners insurance, heat, electric, water, sewer, garbage, any other fees associated with what we call Schedule A expenses. Schedule A expenses are your housing expenses, your household expenses. We then get down to Schedule B expenses. Schedule B expenses are your vehicle expenses, how much you pay towards auto payments, how much you pay in auto insurance, fuel, oil, commuting expenses, other charges. These expenses are all considered in determining one's lifestyle analysis, how much one spends per month to maintain their monthly lifestyle. This part D, your monthly expenses as it relates to Schedule A and B, these expenses are kind of fixed expenses, right? You have actual mortgage statements to establish what your expenses are. You have statements associated with your Schedule B expenses. So you can't really manipulate these expenses. However, when you get to Schedule C expenses are your personal expenses. And your personal expenses include food at home, prescription drugs, restaurants, clothing, most of the expenses that you would incur on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. So your Schedule C expenses, because we're limited for time, your Schedule C expenses are basically your monthly expenses, your day-to-day expenses that you incur. Food, prescription drugs, children's expenses, gifts that you pay for birthdays, holidays, contributions that you may make to a church or to a synagogue and stuff like that. Again, it's an exhaustive list. I'm not going to go through the entire list with you, but again, the way to look at it is basically any personal expenses that you incur on a monthly basis. These expenses too, when you prepare these expenses should really be supported with receipts, bank statements, because the other side is going to try to question these expenses. One side will try to say that these expenses are inflated. The other side will say that they're not inflated. And therefore, in order to support what you're certifying to, it's important to support these with your bank statements, credit card statements, or receipts of payment. Moving on to Part E. Part E, again, this lays down the groundwork as to what assets we're going to be discussing throughout the course of your divorce proceedings. It sets forth every single asset that the two of you have accumulated throughout your marriage. It should also include certain assets that you've had that you've come into the marriage, okay? Although they may be exempt, it's important to list that and identify those assets as being exempt. However, Part E, again, is a full list as to all assets that you and your spouse have accumulated throughout your marriage. A few examples. Real property. What is real property? Real property is your home or any other property, maybe rental properties, shore homes, vacation homes, but for the most part, your marital residence. Bank accounts, vehicles, your tangible personal property, which is usually your furnishings in your home, stocks, bonds, pensions, IRAs, businesses, partnerships, professional practices, life insurance. Again, a very exhaustive list here, but whatever asset that you've incurred or have established during the course of your marriage should be set forth in your case information statement. Moving on to page 10. Again, page 10 is now statement of your liabilities. The same way your assets are subject to equitable distribution, the same is true with respect to debts that you have incurred during the course of your marriage. Any kind of credit card debts that you've incurred, any kind of loans for colleges or home equity lines of credits or revolving charges. Again, revolving charges would be credit cards. Any short-term debts that are paid on a monthly basis are also included in your statement of liabilities. Again, the statement of liabilities, it's important to have every single debt listed here because you don't want to be the one responsible for a certain debt if it's a joint debt and the other party should be 50% responsible or 60% responsible or 40% responsible. You want to make sure that your case information statement is concise, is complete, and is accurate and can be supported with backup documentation. Lastly, again, it's Part G. This is just basically the last page. This is page 11. And this makes sure that all the supporting documents are attached to your case information statement. So when you supply a case information statement or file a case information statement with the court, you have to supply your W-2 statements, if you're a W-2 employee, any kind of 1099s, K-1 statements, your last 3 pay statements attached, any kind of bonus information. And the purpose for that is to support what you certified to previously, to make sure that the income that you certified to is accurate. Okay, and that it's supported with the financial statements that you've received for that given year. And then lastly, you sign it. It requires every party's signature, or your client's signature. Once this is completed and you've gathered all the information and you've gone over this with your attorney and made sure that it's accurate and complete, the attorneys will then file this with the court. This then gets filed with the court, and it allows the court to also get an idea as to what the issues are in your case.
It was a pleasure to hear from Jane Ellen and Mario Delmonaco. Very well informed.
You heard from some of the best, as always. I got to tell you something. Mario can talk for a long time, but when you get Mario on your team, he's a home run. Mario hits him out of the park. Very tenacious, aggressive attorney.
Yes.
Jane Ellen, on the other hand, not as aggressive as Mario, but she knows the law like no one does. Prenuptial agreements have become an integral part of the practice of family law these days.
100%.
The young and the old. People that get remarried do prenups. People before they get married for the first time do prenups. It's a very integral part of our practice of law.
Yeah.
And they both did a great job in educating everyone about those two areas of law.
Absolutely. And it was very interesting to learn and hear about things very intricately. But do we have some more fun things coming up?
Well, let's talk about the coming attractions.
Of course.
And not only coming attractions, but maybe the venue will change a little bit.
Yeah.
How about going over to the Grand Cafe, one of the fine restaurants in Morristown?
Oh, yes.
And we can do a beautiful show over there. And then if we go across the street, we can go to the Morris County Courthouse.
Yes.
And I can capture one of the courthouse rooms
Yes.
and do it there. And third, which we actually have done before, a long time ago, let's go over to Hamilton Farms Golf Club and talk about golf and some of the things that people get involved when they get divorced. Like women getting half of their husband's,
Golf membership.
golf memberships,
Yeah.
things of that nature when they get divorced. But fascinating. So we can integrate that right into our programs.
Very fascinating. And we'll have new locations, new guests, maybe expert witnesses.
Yeah, we're going to have actually got 3 more people coming on board for the show over there. One, of course, will be Jennifer McInerney. Jen's been with me for years. She specializes in wills, trusts, and estates. Why is she here in this divorce practice? Because when people get divorced, first thing they have to do is change your will, right? When you get divorced, you want to make sure everything, if you die, doesn't go to the ex-husband.
Yeah.
You want it to go to your 3 kids. So you change your wills, trust, estate work, very important in a divorce practice. And she gets a tremendous amount of feed from us. Every time we have a divorce, we send it over there, okay? Really other quick, we have Christine Dalena, mediation and arbitration, fascinating part of the practice of law right now. It's even taken over from litigation. And finally, Peter Burcutti, who will talk to you about how to try a divorce case. That's pretty much it. Can't wait. It should be very interesting, very informative. And you're going to hear from 3 more trifectas.
Well, you guys heard it here. Only if you like perfect.
Only if you like perfect. I like it.
Stay
Great
tuned.
working with you, Jordan. You're the best.
Oh,
I
you
got to tell you, you're the one hitting a home run. You don't even need a trifecta.
Oh, I am the trifecta.
You are all in one. You're the best.
Oh, you're so sweet, Billy. Thanks so much.
It's true. Yeah, you're doing a great job. Appreciate it.